states of public emergencies were declared in the police divisions of St. James, Westmoreland, and Hanover. These three are termed the tri-parish SOEs. And in the corporate area, the St. Andrews South Police Division, the Kingston West Police Division, the Kingston Central Police Division, and the Kingston East Police Division. All of these divisions have seen increases ranging from 16% to 57%. All have murder rates per 100,000 in excess of the regional average, which is 15%. In fact, the murder rate per 100,000 in these divisions range from a low of approximately 47 per 100,000 to 190 per 100,000. We have decided to recommend the declaration of SOEs, having regard to the increase in murders compared year on year, both in the communities in which we have declared them and nationally. And these increases we consider to be of an extensive scale, such that they threaten public safety, both in the communities in which the SOEs have been declared and nationally. But more than that, we have decided to declare the SOEs because of the nature and frequency of the violence surrounding the murders and other crimes. And I'm sure every Jamaican would have recognized that the nature and frequency of the violence has devolved to a level of barbarity, a level of savagery. It is almost a competition for cruelty, the worst of the worst, and it appears to be designed, properly calculated to drive fear into the citizenry of the country and panic in communities. The government cannot remain crippled. It cannot see these things happening and not take action. So this morning, we are announcing the declaration of states of public emergencies in, and I will repeat, the police divisions in which the SOEs have been declared: the St. James Police Division, the Westmoreland Police Division, Hanover Police Division, St. Andrews South, Kingston West, Kingston Central, and Kingston East. I'll now invite the Commissioner of Police to give further details.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and good morning to the officials here and also to everyone who's viewing. So despite continued police action against offenders, violent offenders, prosecutions of criminal gangs and gang members, the persistent epidemic of violence continues. Criminals armed with illegal firearms continue to kill our people. We have a murder rate that persists at a level of 3 times our regional average and 8 times the global average. Since COVID-19, a number of jurisdictions globally have seen increases in criminal violence and murder of up to 30% and even beyond. Our murders this year have increased by 10%. However, this 10% is 10% of a persistently, unacceptably high number, which means Jamaica's homicide rate remains within the top 5 countries in the world. As at November the 12th, 2021, our serious crime data shows that we have an increase in murder. Shootings have remained largely flat, but other crimes are trending downwards. What this means is that we have a violence problem. We have a problem with persons who are willing to take up guns and kill. And as the Prime Minister said, some of the things we have seen recently, where young men see fit to cut off somebody's head and play football with it, is indicative of a change, a shift in the nature of violence. The loss of lives of our people, largely by members of criminal gangs, accounts for about 70% of all of our murders. There is another 19% that is caused by an inability of us to resolve our personal differences without violence. But that 70+% is significant of all murders that are committed by criminal gangs. But there are other victims, and those who are shot but do not die and spend months in state medical care. Also those who are left behind to fend for themselves and to mourn, and entire communities that live in fear. Now, of particular concern were those police divisions that were outlined by the Prime Minister. And based on what we have seen there, we requested states of public emergency to be put in place in those 7 police divisions, those of Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James, and those of St. Andrews South, Kingston West, Kingston Central, and Kingston East. As at Friday, there were 1,240 victims of murder. 392 of those were killed across the 4 divisions in Kingston and St. Andrew, which represents 32% of the national figure. Of the 1,100 persons shot but who were not killed, that region accounted for 391 of the victims, or 36% of the national figure. In the parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, and Hanover, there have been 272 victims of murder. This represents 22% of the national figure, while 214 persons were shot and injured, also representing 22% of the national figure. Not included in the statistics are the 11 murders that took place over the last 24 hours that were reflected in this morning's crime report. 5 of these murders took place in Westmoreland. 4 of these murders took place in that Southern Crescent that we're talking about. So of the 11, 9 of them took place in the areas that we are, that the state of public emergency has been imposed in. And all of those that we're talking about were conducted with illegal firearms. These gangs that are doing this largely are funded through the drug for gun trade, through extortion, through scamming, and also finance from local and overseas criminal organizations. Let me just have everybody or assure everyone that the imposition of states of public emergency regulations in particular spaces does not remove or detract from any other policing methods that will be used and have been employed recently against these highly violent offenders. It is in addition to. So we will continue our investigations. We will continue our deployments across the entire country. We'll continue our partnerships with our local partners and overseas partners to discover the whereabouts of these gangs and to seek these convictions. This state of public emergency is designed to reduce violence in the communities as quickly as possible and to reduce fear. Our annual murder rate has been above the 1,000 mark for so long that sometimes we're in danger of seeing that as a baseline from which we start to do measures. That is not acceptable.
I now invite our Chief of Defense Staff to give the boundaries and other details about the actual geographical imposition of the states of public emergency.
In the West, both Westmoreland and Hanover are known as displacement areas for gang members from St. James in particular. In the East, the modus operandi of the gangs has seen numerous drive-by attacks, home invasions, alliances with other gangs outside of their territory. The security situation has proven to be well beyond the sphere of normal routine policing, and the JDF can more effectively assist the JCF if we have the powers we have requested. As a result of making the recommendations to the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister to the Governor General, and having had the declaration, the Jamaica Defence Force and the Jamaica Constabulary Force deployed starting at midnight tonight, and most of the troops were in place by 6 this morning to the areas that were indicated. I will now give an indication of the boundaries of the respective police divisions, starting first with the Kingston and St. Andrew space. So the boundaries for the areas under the state of public emergency for St. Andrew South, Kingston West, Kingston Central, and the Kingston East police divisions are as follows. To the north, the boundary will start at the westernmost end of the Belvedere to Ferry secondary road, extending in an easterly direction along the Belvedere to Ferry Road, and then continue easterly to the foot of Red Hills, the intersection of Perkins Boulevard, Mullines Road, and Red Hills Road. The northern boundary then continues in a southeasterly direction along Mullines Road, Seaward Drive, Mimosa Road, Aloe Avenue, Bay Farm Road, Newark Avenue, Elm Crescent, Keesing Avenue, Hagley Park Road, Omar Road, Chisholm Avenue, then on to Maxfield Avenue and Russell Road in an easterly direction to Linders Road at its intersection with Slipe Road. Then it goes easterly along Torrington Road to Hero Circle and then continues to Connolly Avenue, then on to Dames Drive to the intersection of South Camp Road. The boundary then proceeds onto Vineyard Road, Diana Drive to Lexington Avenue, then onto Denier Road to the intersection with Mountain View Avenue. The boundary then extends in an easterly direction along an imaginary line as outlined on the map to the shared parish border of St. Andrew and St. Thomas. To the east, the boundary continues in a southerly direction along the shared parish border of St. Andrew and St. Thomas along the coast, to the coast. In the south, the boundary extends westerly along the coast of St. Andrew, then along the Kingston coastline to the Kingston Container Terminal, and then to the Portmore Causeway Bridge. Finally, to the west, the boundary continues in a northwesterly direction from the Portmore Causeway Bridge to the Fresh River, then along the shared parish border of St. Andrew and St. Catherine, west of Riverton, and extends to intersect with the northern boundary at the westernmost end of the Belvedere to Ferry Road. With respect to the areas under state of public emergency in Western Jamaica, that is St. James, Westmoreland, and Hanover, it's a bit more straightforward as it essentially comprises the entire land area of the parishes of St. James, Westmoreland, and Hanover within the established parish boundaries. But more specifically, they are: to the west, the boundary extends in another direction along the coast of Westmoreland, and then Hanover to the coast at Lucy in Hanover. To the north, the boundary starts from Lucy in Hanover and then extends in an easterly direction along the coast of Hanover to St. James, to the coastal intersection of St. James and Trelawney parish boundaries. To the east, the boundary extends in a southerly direction along the shared parish borders of St. James, Trelawney, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland to the coast. Finally, to the south, the boundary continues along the coastline of Westmoreland to the westernmost point of the island at the west end of Westmoreland. We are committed and have ensured that all members of the security forces are fully cognizant and trained in how to interact with our citizens, respecting their rights. But we rely on you for support and information. We therefore ask the citizens who live and work and have to travel within these areas to be mindful of the declaration and cooperate with the security forces on the ground. The Commissioner previously indicated some of what is suggested. We're all working towards a common goal of ridding Jamaica of crime and recognizing that this can only be achieved through unified and direct effort.